Again, a warm welcome on an incredibly warm Christmas day. I do want to welcome everyone today. It's a very important holiday for us as we gather today. We gather today, obviously, to celebrate Christmas with our beloved St. Joan of Arc community and in our sacred gymnasium. It is our sacred space. It may well be for some their very first time at St. Joan of Arc. For others, it may be a return trip after having been away. For many of us, it's been more than several decades of gathering as a faith family. It's always important to come together to celebrate these times. It was most definitely a somewhat abbreviated Advent season. The mini version of Advent occurs only 6 to 7 years. The Advent wreath fulfilled its mission only a short time ago, yesterday, and was retired to the back hallway, I see. Candles still a bit warm. However brief Advent was, as we had the fourth Sunday of Advent on Christmas Eve day, however brief it may have been, it did ask us the question, to question the stars. And what do the stars say? Our opening ritual reminded us that the light of the stars, after traveling millions of miles, summons us to look beyond. Our Advent ritual reassured us that the dark that hovers over us is actually filled with light. The stars say that we are so not finished in our life, that we are forming, and still forming, and that indeed nothing can stop us. Love alone is our ultimate gift. Love is our guide to the universe. And it is seen through this incarnation that God's love was and always was intended for all people, without flinching and without exception. Emmanuel, God with us, God dwelling in us through Jesus Christ, is a gift meant for everyone, without exception. And now, at this time of Christmas, what do the stars remind us to remember always, long after this Christmas? Tend to the heart, and the power of love will name itself as God. Each week, and regrettably, if you were not able to join us during Advent, some of this may not sound at all familiar to you, but perhaps you'll be there through these words. Each week in Advent, we have been privileged to hear the personal witness as members of our community have shared their personal memories of experiencing the light of Christ in their own faith journeys. We reverence their stories of life experiences that revealed that which first may and well did feel frightening and perhaps a bit dark, were indeed stories of light. We remembered on the first Sunday of Advent when a teenage Mariella shared her diagnosis of somewhat of a rare diagnosis known as Williams syndrome. She learned of that at age 8. She's now a teenager. It is a syndrome that's a genetic disease that can affect many parts of the body. Mariella was the first to step up on our Advent journey. Without needing to know all the science around Williams syndrome, what the now teenage Mariella knows is that it has helped her become to become the above average, very friendly, creative, and dynamic young lady with just the right amount of sass to attract absolutely everybody who encounters her. In what would have been fearful and perhaps dark, she has turned that experience into light. To be reminded on the third Sunday of Advent of the love and the commitment shared by Sharon and George in their love for one another. To understand that they were still forming. George was ordained a Catholic priest, and Sharon's mother died at a very young age. And George was part of the celebration of her mother's funeral. George attached to the family and a relationship grew. And in time, Sharon and George came together in love and eventually to marry. To understand that they were still forming and changing and needed to respond to God's call. That God's plan for them was to share the journey of life together. They were willing to tend to their hearts, and their love has been a source of light to their children, to their children's children, and all who have come to know them in their life. Sharon's story reminds all of us to be more courageous in faith and to make choices in life that are not always going to be easy, but have the potential of bringing us exactly into the life that God has always intended us to have. So what do the stars tell us as we look to the new year that will soon begin? In the words of Thomas Merton, the child that lies in the manger helpless and abandoned to the love of his creatures, dependent entirely upon them to be fed, clothed, and sustained, remains the creator and the ruler of the universe. He wills to be helpless that we may take him into our care. He has embraced our poverty in order to give us his riches. As a result of the ongoing war in Israel and Gaza, there's a church in Bethlehem this year that totally depicted their manger scene entirely different than normal, as we have a obviously very well-kept, very tidy manger scene. The one in Bethlehem was rearranged this year that placed the child amidst a scene of rubble, the result of a war, a reminder of the experience for them on their day-to-day basis. To be able to visualize the presence of Christ, the newborn Christ, within the rubble of Gaza. On this Christmas day, we remember especially the children of Gaza as well as Israel. May they be cared for and loved. As we have been reminded that the dark that hovers over us is actually filled with light, not only at this time of Christmas, but at all times. We are reminded to be that light in our world and in our troubled nation, as well as to our larger church, that so often tends to lead from a place of fear. And most assuredly, we need to be a light to ourselves. Buddha reminds us you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. You deserve your own love and affection, and it needs to be felt there first before one can genuinely give it to anyone else. You gotta love yourself before you can attempt to love others. It involves having fewer distractions and fewer excuses to not love yourself. It involves being that one who shines light upon those who sit in darkness. It involves being that one who loves when no one else does. It involves each and every one of us to truly know that we are the incarnation of God's love and that there is light within us to shine in our weary world and in our fear-filled church. Christmas is that ultimate reminder that all seemingly ordinary things and moments in life have the capacity to be epiphanies of God's presence. We are sacramental to the core. Once we realize and can affirm that absolutely everything and everyone is holy. And oftentimes, we find that sacredness is also wrapped in something quite messy, and oftentimes not very well arranged, and oftentimes very unpredictable. Life is indeed far from perfect, but most assuredly, life is precious. You gotta live with the messiness, and at times the brokenness and the fear. Life is not neat, but it is precious. Unto us a child is born is truly just the beginning of our story, as we choose to bring forth the birth of Christ in our world and again in our church. The birth of Jesus Christ was not God's answer to the brokenness of humanity. It was and is the perfect expression of the depth, the power, and the goal of God's love for all of creation. God choosing to share fully in our humanity. Think about that. God itching to be in our world through humanity, through flesh. To know that you truly are a child of God, and that you are loved without condition. You are and have always been worthy. If you take nothing home today but this, to more than just consider the possibility, but to know that you are worthy. And Christmas puts a kiss on that. Christmas puts a kiss on that and says yes. God present in the flesh of Jesus Christ, God present in our flesh. We are, have always been, and will always be worthy. Tend to the heart, and the power of love will name itself as God. If you only carry one thing, carry this into the new year and your entire life. Carry hope. carry hope. Let it be the hope. Let it be the hope that better things are always ahead. Let it be the hope that you can get through even the toughest of times. Bring hope to that. Whatever the toughest thing is, bring a sense of hope. Let it be a hope that you are stronger than any challenge that comes your way. Let it be a hope that you are exactly where you are meant to be right now, and that you are on the path to where you are meant to be. Because during these times, hope will be the very thing that carries you through. It is hope that's going to get you from point A to point B. Let hope be your guide. I want to thank people for their lovely, incredible holiday greetings that I've received this year. Within one was the metta prayer of Buddhism, defined as loving kindness. I'll do this first. I want you to repeat after me. This is that metta prayer. If you would please just, again, repeat what I say. Think of this as we move into the new year. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy. May I be as healthy as my body allows. May I be at peace and at ease. Enclosed in that greeting, the gentleman that had presented that Buddhist prayer talked about an experience that had in Paris. It's an older guy, not too much older than me, but nonetheless an older guy, and used a cane and was trying to maneuver a step in Paris to step up from the street onto the sidewalk, and found himself having to kind of stand there and get ready to do that until the time was right, and trying to figure out how to make that step. Had this presence of an older man coming behind him, a Frenchman, also using a cane. And as this gentleman was trying to lift himself up, the older man, also with the cane, simply whoop, and said, "That a boy," in French, "That a boy." Easily translates, "That a girl." Let us be that one who keeps an eye out for those trying to make that step. That a boy, that a girl. That's St. Joan of Arc. Amen.